we're looking at Algebra 2B, Objective 5, Order rational numbers. So this is some stuff that you really did learn it a long time ago, but you really haven't used it a whole lot since then. And so it's one of those things that we just kind of have to refresh you on. So definitely not too bad. Sorry, I had to stop and get a drink. Definitely not too bad, but not easy either, because it just gets confusing. It really does just get confusing. So let's start off with an example of fractions. And we're going to start off with an even uglier example of fractions. We're going to go with negative fractions. We're going to go negative 1/5 and negative 1/4. And what we want to do here is we either want to put in is greater than, is less than, or is equal to. Okay? Well, 1/4 and 1/5, negative, both of them being negative. It's fairly easy to see, I think, that they're not the same number. They're not the same number. So, right, that one should be out pretty easily. If you do think they're the same number, right, then come see me. We'll trade some money based on these values. But yeah, we should know that they're not the same. 1/5 is a different part of something than 1/4. Okay. So there's a couple different ways to look at this. One is, if you divide something up into 4 pieces, each piece is going to be bigger than if you divide the same thing up into 5 pieces, right? So this is, if we're not talking about negatives, 1/4 is bigger than 1/5, but here's the problem. We're talking about negatives. Okay? So one way to do this is to put it on a number line. Put it on a number line. And I'm going to put 0 right here. And I'm going to put 1 right here. So I have a fairly simple number line. Okay? And if I divide this up into 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4, negative 1/4 is right here, right? Well, if I divide up in fifths, and I'm just going to kind of draw another number line just right above it, right? So 1's still here and 0's still here, but I'm going to try to divide this up into 5 equal pieces. Should look something like this. Okay, so 1/5, negative 1/5 should be right here. Well, when we compare these and we extend these up and down, right, this is 1/5 here. The greater one is to the right, right? The further where you are that way on the number line, the bigger number you have. So 1/5 is just, or negative 1/5 is just a little bit bigger than negative 1/4, right? It's closer to 0. And when you're in negatives, you want to be close to 0 to be bigger. So in this case, negative 1/5 is greater than negative 1/4. Okay? The second way to do this is to convert these to decimals. Okay? 1/5, or negative 1/5, is negative 0.2. All right? If I throw that in the calculator, negative 1 divided by 5, I should get negative 0.2. If I throw this one in the calculator, I'll get negative 0.25. So how am I going to compare these? Well, in any number, I can always add zeros, right? I could add as many zeros as I want or need, because they're just always there. They're assumed to be there, especially if you have the decimal here. Anything after the decimal, you can keep putting as many zeros as you want. So let's compare. They're both negative. Good to know. We need to know that. Right after the decimal, we both have 2's in both of them, so we can't compare that because they're the same. We're going to go on to the next thing. 0 and 5. Which one is closer to 0? Right? Well, 0 is closer to 0 than 5 is, right? So this one is larger, right? Because they're both negative. Close to 0 is large. This one's larger. So we're getting the same sign we got above. So that's another way to look at these and try to do them. Okay. Another thing they did is they gave you some numbers and they said compare them, put them in order from greatest to least or from least to greatest, right? So let's give you an example of some numbers. Let's make sure I'm on your screen here. 9.015. You know what? I'm not going with that example. I'm going with another one. 1.7. I said it right and wrote it right. 738. Next one, 1.738. And the next one, 1.738. Okay, so we have three different numbers that all have the same digits in them, right? They all have 1.738. So how we got to compare them? We created the, and we're going to put these in order from greatest to least. So I'm looking for the biggest number. If you look at the first number in them, it's 1, 1, and 1. They're all the same, so we move on. You go to 7, 7, and 7. They're all the same, so we move on. 3, 3, 3. All the same, we move on. 8, 8, 8. All the same, we move on. We move on to the next digit. Well, the next digit's not written in. So this one doesn't have any repeating or anything, so this next digit's 0. This one, the 8 is repeating, so this will go 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8 on forever. So I'm just going to add 1, 8. This one goes 3, 8 on forever, so like that, and keeps going. So let's compare the next one. 0, 8, and 3, right? Remember, we're looking at this one right here. 0, 8, and 3. Well, 8 is the biggest out of 0, 8, and 3. So that's my biggest number. 1.738 with the 8 repeating, and that's bigger than the other two. Next, 3 is bigger than 0, so that one's my one that goes next. 1.738. That repeating is greater than 1.738, and then just have a 0 that's repeating. So that's the proper order. All right, so we're ordering numbers. Like I said, you haven't done it in a long time, but it's doable. The only other thing you're going to run into is the mix of fractions and decimals. And the only way to compare them is to convert, right? So just take all your fractions. If you have 1/2 and you don't know how to do it in your head, go 1 divided by 2 on the calculator. Get it, and just convert it to a decimal. And that decimal should terminate or repeat if you put it in the calculator right. So yeah, once you get them all decimals, then you'll be able to compare. Sometimes you get an easy decimal like 0.5, and if you want to turn that one to a fraction, feel free. That's not going to hurt anything, right? Then you can compare them in fractions as well. All right, have a great day.